Welcome to week 4. Done a lot of exploring in Charleston and feel like we've seen a good bit of the town, so we are happy to do the next thing. We got off the dock on Monday morning. We were at the marina for one night, and as we were pulling out into the crowded harbor, John's London hat went flying. It was the second hat that was off to the sea, but we decided Cocoa Beach was okay to lose, but London was not. So the hat went flying, and we slowed down and thought, we're getting it.
The Coast Guard was following us. There was another boat coming in, too, a pretty large one at the same time.
And I really thought the Coast Guard slowed down as well to actually grab the hat, so I wasn't being as active as I should have been getting ready.
They did look like they saw it, and they were maybe
They definitely did.
They're like, yeah.
But they did not. So we had to flip around again, and then I was trying to open the boat hook, which wouldn't extend. John drove us perfect right to me being able to rescue it, and I couldn't reach it because the boat hook wasn't long enough. So then we had to maneuver the channel and the boats and the craziness and turn around again.
It was very windy, too.
Yeah,
so,
choppy, windy.
Yeah.
I kept an eye on it, so it is the practice for, it's always our practice for the man overboard
No, it was good.
drill.
She did her pointing like she's supposed to, and
That's
it
right.
worked.
We kept eyes on it the whole time,
Yeah.
even a little hat. Second time around, I hooked it, and we rescued it out of the water. So that was our big adventure for the morning. Because pretty much after that, we moved anchorages. We just came out in Charleston Harbor a little bit and anchored near another marina. Because the first marina we went to, their fuel pumps weren't working. So before we left the harbor, we were going to have to get fuel. So we
And I had to work anyways, so we knew we weren't going to do anything all day. I had to work most of the day.
So we moved anchorages, parked by the other marina, and anchored and worked.
The anchorage was a little weird. I mean, it shows it on the chart as a good place to anchor, and it is. It was definitely shielded from the wind. The wind was quite strong, and then in there it was pretty nice. We didn't really realize how close the cargo ships just come right in next to the channel marker. It is a little unnerving to see these things right next to you. I guess they were doing some work in there, and they came in with some barges with cranes zipping around our boat. That was kind of interesting, but it was fun.
Yeah,
so.
And by the end, it felt secure enough.
Oh, yeah,
to
it
stay.
was secure.
Yeah. So the next day, we got the fuel, and that was a little hectic because it was just a line of boats waiting to get in. We didn't realize after this big boat came, we kind of tucked in because we couldn't really tell on the radio that the guy said we weren't really next in line. So we came in, we hooked and tied off to the cleats, but he scooted us up a little because he pointed that there was another boat behind us actually waiting their turn to get gas. So we both fit on the dock. They got gas first.
Yeah, it was fun.
Then we got gas. And then we just moved again, stayed in this Charleston Harbor, over to an anchorage right near Fort Sumter, because we thought it would be a quick way out the next morning. We were going to get going and sail in the morning.
It looked like a nice place to anchor.
Yes, it did. It looked like a nice place, and it looked less hectic than being right there by the channel. But unfortunately, after dinner, there was still a bunch of stuff all over the table. We had a cocktail we were enjoying, relaxing, and out of nowhere, the boat started rocking crazy, and I had to literally like hug, hug, and just hold on.
Oh yeah, it was rocking.
A good 5 rocks. I don't know how many seconds that was.
Well,
but
it was a while. Every time the current changed, we'd kind of get flipped sideways to the waves. Normally the current, we'd face into it, but I guess when it slacked off, we would go sideways to it because the wind was coming from a different direction. We just would get rocking crazy. But we stayed.
Yeah, we did. We stayed the night and held on tight and slept fine, I think. I don't really remember it through the night, so that was fine.
At least so.
The next day we were heading out near Georgetown. It's called the Waiya Bay entrance. I don't really know. We're out in some good wind and some choppy water for a good bit of the day. But the wind was at our back and it didn't feel super windy, even though it was still chilly. So it didn't feel that crazy until we turned to go into the inlet. And then, of course, you're sideways to the wind and the waves are crazy in an inlet. And it was a little hectic, a little great driving by John for sure. The unfortunate thing is the bimini had been a little loose already. The zipper came undone in one section. So I had to stand up behind him while he was steering and just hold the bimini.
We eventually tied it, but when you're coming in the inlet in waves and the bimini starts right off, it's a little much. So she just kind of held it in place until we got to a spot that we could say, okay, this isn't as bad. Let's tie it off.
So we secured it off for the night so that it wouldn't flop too much and anchored off of Cat Island which was nice.
It was blowing almost, it was the high 20s. It kind of wears you out after all day of being out there. We were riding waves and surfing down them and stuff. You were paying attention the whole time. You get in there and it was just like exhale because it was not very windy.
I do remember that,
You just go, and it was very calm.
Then we planned the next day to repair the Bimini for sure.
I was planning on working the next day, but we just said, well, that's going to have to wait. I learned how to sew.
He's good. We couldn't start in the morning, unfortunately, because it wasn't windy, it wasn't sunny, and there were some horse flies near Cat Island, so I was not willing to go up outside. I stayed in. But eventually, as the sun came out and the wind came up and John took the Bimini down, I didn't get bit at all. I don't know about you, but
just in the beginning.
Yeah, because he was up there.
Then I was like killing them. You'd see all the... Once they were gone, they were gone. We made these little patches, sewed them on with this quick stitcher, which is kind of cool. It's like a sewing machine, but you just poke it in, you pull it out, pull the thread through, pull it through.
Right.
So you are the sewing machine. And
but it enables you to
really push through
a lot
canvas.
Of thick fat.
And then we burned holes with the soldering iron. We don't have a punch. The soldering iron actually worked pretty well.
Yeah.
And then tied eyelets around there.
To create like a grommet?
So grommet, and then tied that around. And that worked really well. I think we're going to do it to the rest of them.
The zipper fixed and connected that at the end. So we are going to repair the rest along the way, but we haven't done more. We were able to get enough done. It was a full day, so we had to stop. But it does hold and is much more secure. If you look at some of the previous sailing videos, you'll see
there's a lot of flapping.
Yeah, there's a lot of flapping.
Before we left, it needed to be done.
It got a little worse, and then once the zipper gave way, it really got worse that one day. So we did the sewing day all day Thursday and spent the night again at that same anchorage. Friday morning, motored up. We don't know how to pronounce it. The Wakama, something river.
It's an interesting river because I thought it would be more like marshy, like we've seen some where it's grassland, but it was more like the Wakaiva River. It
Very
had
woodsy.
a lot of trees, a lot of cypress. Some places it just felt wrong. We're just in there with this big boat, and I think it's like we took a wrong turn.
Right. It should be we're exploring it with the kayak or the canoe.
Exactly.
Not so much a big, huge sailboat.
But it was deep.
It was deep. The channel was nice. It was a nice ride the whole day. And the anchorage was kind of in this little cutout section of the woods.
We got in there like, can we really anchor in here? And we put it right in the middle. We could swing around and not hit trees anywhere, but it's really...
Or shallows.
Yeah, you get pretty close to the trees and you're thinking, wow, that's... interesting anchorage.
Yeah, it was.
But it was good. It was plenty
and
good.
It was not windy and not choppy.
Oh yeah,
no
calm,
boats around.
Very calm.
So
no horse flies.
And then the next day we got up and we were continuing up the Intercoastal. So these were our first big 2 days of exploring the Intercoastal. We'd been out in the ocean so far, but the second day we went up.
Pleasantly surprised.
Had to go through Myrtle Beach, and we were expecting it to kind of be I drive on the river.
Yeah, that's what I was expecting. Just like hotels but it was very
really pretty, right? It had interesting houses to look at up on the stilts, and just really pretty architecture, and then pretty golf courses.
A lot of money in this country.
Yes, Myrtle
Beach. Crazy.
So we motored all the way through. We went through a couple bridges that day.
Some swing bridges.
Yep.
They're kind of fun. You talk to the locals, and they're a little different flair.
Yeah, you have to request for when an opening comes.
Yeah.
And then past the marina we were going to stay at the next day, so it was kind of good to see it and figure out where we were going to have to come in. But we had to find an anchorage, and there wasn't anything right in the town. So we were now in North Myrtle Beach, and we went all the way up by the inlet to get out back into the ocean. And it didn't seem like we should be able to anchor right there because we're in the inlet.
It was out of the channel for sure, but it was very shallow. Like we could see a tree next to us on the sandbar. That old driftwood, that's very kind of scary to see, but it was deep enough.
All the charts said it was. And then the next morning when we got up, the tree was on the beach. It was just enough over that it ended up in the shallows, and we still were deep enough, so it was fine, but it was kind of crazy. So that morning, Sunday morning, we dinghied in to over one of the beaches. We just went to go wander around and check it out. We went to the beach where the border of North Carolina and South Carolina meet. We're looking at our phone on maps to find the spot, and then realized there was a sign up on the dunes that said "Welcome to North Carolina." So, and we had done all our investigating.
But we drew the line.
And then we drew the line.
Yeah, we each stood on one side.
So we drew the line for the border and stood on each side. And while we were doing that, Sarah called, so that was kind of fun, and she got to be part of that with us.
Yeah.
We thought we pulled the dinghy up high enough. We tied it up to a branch.
I forgot the anchor, which it would have been nice to dig that in the sand, but I found a I'll call it a stick, stuck it in the ground.
No, it was in the ground already, wasn't it?
No, I dug it in.
Oh, okay.
And tied a line up to it. We were way up. Not really, because when we came back, I had even checked it and it would look good, but I guess some boats went by and the waves went up really high and lifted it up and kind of drug it back into the water a little bit. So it was trying to get away.
Yeah.
And this little stick is pulling out of, I mean, I don't know how close we were, but it couldn't have been more than a couple minutes. It would have been gone.
So luckily
that was boring.
Yes, luckily we did go back right in time and realized that we needed to.
We need to be better.
Right, pay attention to that. We were only going to play on the beach anyway for a little while because we were allowed to go to the marina starting at noon, and the point of all the whole go to Myrtle Beach was we were going to hang out and see my Aunt Madeline. So we had already talked to her about meeting up around 12:30. She and some out-of-town friends came over and spent the afternoon with us. We went out to lunch, and then they graciously took us on some errands, which was very, very kind. Thank you again, Aunt Madeline and Dennis and Sue, because it was nice. We went to West Marine and they hung out while we did a few things in there, and then we went to Publix and did a great restock and were able to get some groceries. We luckily had enough time. We actually went out to the house for a little bit.
Saw the carvings. That was fun.
Yeah, saw all the wood carvings, got to meet Leo the pup. Coincidentally, while we were in Georgetown, another aunt reached out to me. They didn't know how far we had gotten yet, but hey, they're going to be in Myrtle Beach on vacation. They live in New Jersey. Was it possible to see them? So luckily, we hooked up with Debbie and Bill on Sunday night. So it was a full day of visits. So Debbie and Bill drove up from Myrtle Beach to North Myrtle Beach to meet us for dinner.
Yeah, so if you think you're in the area, give us a call.
That's right. We are absolutely
interested. We could even go sailing if you want or not.
So keep an eye on where we are and where we're headed, and hopefully there'll be more coincidences that work out like that.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
So we even squoze in a load of laundry at the end of the night at 10 o'clock at night because we were going to be off the marina for a while. Until we dinged in that morning, Sunday morning, we really had been on the boat since we got gas on Tuesday. So that was kind of a full week of motoring and exploring really from the shore, but we really hadn't been in all week. So it was kind of an interesting week, a little bit different, but it ended great with so many visitors and we had a wonderful time. All right, hope to see everyone soon.